Welcome to today's Explainer. Man, I am so excited to talk about this one because, well, after years and years of waiting, the highly chaotic, wonderfully absurd return of a legendary spoof franchise is finally here. We are breaking down the mechanics, the absolute madness, and honestly, the missed opportunities of Scary Movie 6. If you've been wondering how this film holds up after all this time and why it's sparking such mixed but super passionate reactions online, you are in the exact right place. We're going to unpack exactly what works and where things get, well, a little messy.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because right out of the gate, I know exactly what some people are saying. I've seen the comments. This movie is dumb, it's completely ridiculous, it makes absolutely no sense. And honestly, to that, we just have to say, yeah, that is exactly the point. The Scary Movie franchise was never ever trying to be high art. I mean, we didn't show up for an Oscar-winning drama, right? We showed up for a masterclass in stupidity, and this film validates that desire completely.
So, Section 1, Embracing the Madness. Why it works.
At its core, the Scary Movie DNA is all about taking popular horror movies, giant blockbusters, and just random pop culture moments, and smashing them together into one giant comedy blender. And in that specific regard, Scary Movie 6 absolutely delivers. It remembers exactly what made audiences fall in love with it in the first place, and it hits the gas pedal hard. To really understand the sheer velocity of this film, just consider the target list. The movie moves at an absolutely insane pace. Nothing is safe. Modern horror films? Parodied, especially those slow-burn, elevated horror movies that take themselves way too seriously. Streaming culture? Roasted, with an entire sequence dedicated to our obsession with binge-watching true crime documentaries. Social media trends? Mocked relentlessly, right down to the ridiculous TikTok dances. Recent blockbuster movies? Destroyed. They specifically take aim at that exhausting multiverse bloat we've seen lately. It is a rapid-fire assault of references just constantly being thrown at you. Some land perfectly, some completely miss, and some are just so profoundly stupid that they wrap all the way around and somehow become funny again. The energy here is relentlessly chaotic. And honestly, there's something incredibly refreshing about that. We're living in an era right now where every single franchise wants to be dark, emotional, or focused on massive, heavy universe building. Modern comedies are almost kind of afraid of just being goofy. But not this film. It just wants to make you laugh. It never takes itself seriously, and it unapologetically leans into the absolute madness of its premise.
Moving on to Section 2, the sketch comedy problem, where it breaks down.
Now, what's really interesting about this is, while we've established the high-energy fun, let's slow things down for a second and look at the structural cracks. Because while that comedy blender is spinning at top speed, the container holding it all together starts to leak, which brings us to the massive butt of our explainer. The movie feels less like an actual film and way more like a collection of comedy sketches that have just been sort of glued together. It genuinely feels like the writers just came up with a checklist of movies they wanted to make fun of and then connected them with the thinnest possible plot imaginable. The storyline isn't driving the comedy, it's just barely holding the references together.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that structural flaw plays out on screen. It's an exhaustive loop. Step 1, the characters make fun of a franchise. Step 2, every few minutes, they jump to a completely different parody. Step 3, they abandon the previous setup entirely and repeat the cycle, over and over, then another, then another, then another. Because of this loop, nothing matters. There are zero stakes. There's no real narrative momentum pulling you forward. The characters aren't going anywhere. They're literally just being teleported from joke to joke.
Contrasting the actual experience with its potential really captures the frustration here. The film actually feels like endlessly scrolling through a social media feed. It's constant entertainment, constant references, and constant stimulation, but there's zero structure connecting it all. And you know what? It gets exhausting. Then you think about what could have been. You see scenes where the movie accidentally stumbles into a really interesting setup and you think, oh, maybe this is where the plot is going. But no, they instantly abandon it just to force in another cameo or another random reference.
Section 3, Funny versus Memorable, the missing ingredient.
Let's see how this builds into our broader understanding of filmmaking itself. What's the missing ingredient here? Why does a movie that makes us laugh so much still leave us feeling, I don't know, a bit unfulfilled? Well, comedy alone can only carry a movie so far. Eventually, as an audience, we start looking for something to hold on to. A funny movie, which is absolutely what Scary Movie 6 is, makes you laugh while you're sitting there watching it. But a memorable movie gives you something to remember after the credits roll. Because there's no character to care about and no goal to understand, most of this film just kind of fades from your memory almost as quickly as it arrives.
And that brings us to the missed opportunities. If the filmmakers had just implemented a stronger central mystery or storyline, more focused character arcs, and a clearer narrative thread, it would have changed everything. And to be totally clear, adding these wouldn't suddenly make the movie some serious, boring drama. The jokes wouldn't disappear, but suddenly all those chaotic comedy scenes would feel so much more meaningful because they'd actually be serving a larger purpose.
So, the crucial point is this. Scary Movie 6 leaves you with incredibly mixed feelings. On one hand, you don't regret watching it. It's entertaining, it captures that classic franchise spirit, and you will absolutely laugh out loud. But it's also a deeply fragmented, shallow experience. It constantly reminds you of the far better movie that's hiding just underneath all of those scattered parody scenes. It's an incredibly enjoyable missed opportunity.
Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. When you strip away the narrative, the character arcs, and the momentum, and you just string together rapid-fire references, at what point does a constant stream of jokes stop being an actual movie and start becoming just content? It's a really fine line between good comedy and a great film, and structure is the bridge between them. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep laughing, and I'll see you next time as we break down another fascinating topic.